This podcast is about how to do your best on the exams in this class, beginning with our first exam, which will be coming up quickly. All of the exams, of course, are online, and they're all available for over a period of 2 days, 48 hours. You can take them anytime you want. The first exam, I'd suggest don't wait until the last minute, because you do have 2 chances to take the first exam, and only the first exam. If you don't do as well as you wanted to, take it again, and I will only count the higher of the 2 grades. Here's some suggestions. Start early. It's important in this class as in any. Don't wait until the last minute to cram. It's not going to work as well. You will find there's a lot of material, perhaps more than you expected, as you start to look over it. Start early. And in geography, as in most subjects, some of these aspects of it come naturally to people. Map ID, it seems, in particular. Some people, it comes naturally to them, some people not. So take your time, allow yourself some time. Start out in what I consider a logical manner. I begin with the textbook. And the textbook, I would suggest, don't read it word for word like a storybook. Start out by skimming. Skim through the sections assigned for whatever particular unit. I like to look at the maps. I like to look at the pictures. I like to start out with getting the big view of what's going on, whatever topic or whatever part of the world we're looking at. I would suggest in the beginning, don't read the textbook assignments word for word, but skim through, look at the highlighted terms, look at the maps, look at the illustrations, get an overview. Then I would suggest follow my introductory lectures. Take a few notes. You will have access to the PowerPoints, but there'll be some things here and there that you may want to make some notes on. I would suggest that strongly. Consider printing off a bunch of copies of the maps, the study map. It's the same study map for all the exams. I would suggest print yourself off a bunch of copies of it and take your notes directly on that map. Again, some people do really well with map ID, some not so much. I think everybody's capable of doing well on the maps, but I think it helps, rather than learning 2 separate things, learning about things and learning where they are on the map, that if you combine, for example, if I'm talking about population pyramids, and I'm talking about the growing population of Nigeria, write that right on the map, right on Nigeria, so you know where Nigeria is, and you're writing on that Nigeria is an example, a developing third world country with a broad population pyramid, youthful population that's growing rapidly. Japan, again, you might write right where that is on the exam, or draw an arrow to Japan and write that Japan's an example of a developed first world country, a country which has a very narrow and increasingly narrow-based population pyramid, meaning that its population is actually shrinking with a ever smaller number of workers in the future. Write those sorts of maps, write those sorts of notes right there on the map to associate the concepts with the places that we're talking about. So take a few notes, I would suggest, as you're listening to my introductory lectures and as you follow through on the PowerPoints. Then read through the applied readings. You don't necessarily need to do this all in order, but whatever works for you. The applied readings are the articles I assign out of the Washington Post, out of CNN, different sources of news. And again, I would strongly suggest take some notes as you're reading these articles. I am not going to ask you about tiny details out of these articles. I don't need you to memorize people's names or other tiny details, but I do need you to walk away from these articles with the main idea. What's going on in given that this is a geography class, where is it happening? What's going on? Where is it happening? So I would suggest read these articles, write down some notes, no more than a couple of sentences on the main points of the article, and then right before you're ready to take the exam, skim over your notes. See what's going on where. Then tackle a study guide. In every unit, we'll have a fairly detailed study guide of what I'm emphasizing in the exam, the main points, both in terms of map ID and in terms of terms and concepts that you need to know. Make sure then that you know what the terms and concepts are, you know where the places are, you know something about the places that I'm asking about in the map ID. Now's the time when you can go back to the textbook. Go back to your notes. Maybe listen to my introductory lectures again, or at least flip through the PowerPoint presentations. And if you can't find it in any of those places, look it up someplace else, online, or you can ask me. If there's something just out of the blue, you can't figure out what it means on the study guide, ask me. But this is the time to go back in detail to make sure that you know these all. And then again, right before you're ready to take the exam, skim over the study guide. Make sure everything's clear. Make sure you understand what it is. Why I'm asking. Make sure you go over your notes for the applied readings. What's going on and where is it happening? Now, in this class, remember that it is open note. It is open textbook for the class, so you can go over everything. But if you haven't prepared, if you haven't studied, you won't do well on the exam. You have 45 minutes for the exam, which will be plenty of time if you've studied, if you've prepared. And some students really like the online concept because they can do their best on the exam, but then they can go back. If there's a couple questions they're not sure about, they can double check them, they can refer back to their notes, and that's fine. But if you haven't prepared, if you haven't studied, 45 minutes will not be long enough for you to look up every answer. Trust me on that, and I think you'll find it out for yourself. Some people will do really well on the first exam, some people won't. Don't get down on yourself. Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. Geography is a strength of some people. It comes naturally to them. It's not for others, but you can do well. Some students just need a test or two to get traction. And that's the reason why I let you retake this first exam, if you want to, is you're getting familiar with the type of exam I ask. This may be new if you're new to the study of geography, etc. So this gives you one free chance to tackle the exams. And after that, from then on, you'll have a much better idea of the types of exams that I provide, the sorts of questions I ask, and how you can best prepare for these. All of the exams are all multiple choice, and that's a help for most people. Again, they're all open book, they're all open note, but yes, you do need to study. If you have any questions, please ask. I will always have forums available in the discussion board. If you have questions about any of the readings, or if you have questions about the exam coming up or anything, and that's always helpful, because if you have a question, it's quite likely everyone else will. You can email me if you're shy, or if you just don't want to ask in a discussion board, that's fine. I'll get back to you. But I'm glad to discuss, and I'm glad to talk about how we can try to plan for your success on the first exam and all exams. The final exam is the only exam that's different. The final exam will be comprehensive. The final exam will focus on the final unit of the course, but it will be also include comprehensive questions throughout the course from the beginning on to the end. It'll be a little bit longer, and it must be proctored. And it must be proctored through the university's Learning Enhancement Center. I have a link for you, and make sure as soon as possible that you go ahead and reserve a time and a place for taking that exam. But other than that, I think you'll find that the exams are pretty uniform all through. If you start preparing and start getting in good habits early on, I think you'll do well for all of them. Let me know, as always, if you have any questions, and good luck to every one of you.